All right. You should have your notes out that are called dissociative and somatic disorder notes. You will find links on here that you can select videos that you're going to watch to answer the questions. But I'm going to give you a brief overview of dissociative and identity disorders so you can do the first part of these notes. Our standard is still the same. We are exploring common characteristics of abnormal behavior as well as the influence of culture. We're also taking a look at some of the theories of why people have this disorder and effective treatment and prevention of abnormal disorders. Here we go. So the beginning of your notes asks you to describe these two different categories of disorders. These are two completely different categories. They have their own sets of disorders underneath them. The first category we'll talk about is dissociative disorders. And this is where a person can lose conscious awareness or have abrupt change in personality, often resulting from a traumatic experience. So what in the world does that mean? It means that a person does not know who they are, does not know where they were. They may act completely different. They may look different. They may sound different. And often it's because something really bad had happened to that person. There's 4 different types that we will study. But again, that loss of conscious awareness is about not being in touch with who you are. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you are. The next one is the next category is called somatic symptom disorders. And these can also be caused by some type of traumatic experience. But the difference here is the symptoms. So this has a lot to do with your personality and how you act up here. This one has to do with feelings of illness or loss of function. So it has a lot to do with how you feel health-wise, but there's nothing wrong with the person. So it says experiencing pain or disability with no illness that is distressing and results in disruption of a person's life, or having thoughts or feelings of having an illness or injury when none exists, often resulting from anxiety, stress, or trauma of which the person is unaware. That was really poorly worded, but I'll fix that up. Basically what's happening is a person can feel sick, feel pain, or lose ability to do something like see or walk or feel or hear. But it has nothing to do with anything physically wrong with them. Something mentally is wrong with them, and it's blocking them from doing what they need to do or making them feel sick. And the really serious part of it is it's this trauma that the person went through. They're really not aware of where it is coming from. It's like so deep down and repressed that they can't figure it out. So let's talk about 4 different dissociative disorders. So there's amnesia, there's fugue, identity, and depersonalization. I do have 3 different videos that I'll have you watch that kind of give you case studies of what these might look like. So I hope you've heard the word amnesia before. We've talked about it a little bit. Amnesia can be caused all different kinds of things, from brain injury, getting hit in the head, from getting old, from diseases within the brain, but it can also be caused by some type of traumatic event, not an injury, but something really bad happened to you. And you can lose memory from things that happened before the traumatic event, that happened after the traumatic event, or both. A fugue, that's how you say this word, F-U-G-U-E, not fuggy, but fugue, means that you take on a new identity. So you might change your name, you might act differently, dress differently, leave the life that you once had and start a new life. It's extremely rare. You'll take a look at a case study. Many people think that people fake a fugue in order to get out of trouble. And there might be people that do try to fake a fugue, but it is also a disorder. There's some people that actually start a new life and are not aware of their old life. They forget their old life. With amnesia, you're not starting a new life. You're like, where am I at and what am I doing? Identity disorder is probably the more serious of all these 4. Dissociative identity disorder is when you have more than one personality, and those 2 personalities don't necessarily communicate with one another. And so you can kind of lose parts of your life. You don't know where you were and what you were doing because some other personality took over. It's extremely bizarre, very dysfunctional for people, maladaptive, usually caused from very severe childhood abuse or neglect. You'll take a look at, in this case study, of a woman with 6 different personalities. It's a strange disorder. Oops, sorry. My mouse pad won't go back. Great. There we go. Sorry. Depersonalization is another dissociative disorder where a person, it's hard to really explain, but it's where a person does not feel like themselves anymore. So imagine looking in the mirror and you're looking at the person and you go, that's not me. It doesn't feel like me. It's almost like you're watching your life and not living your life. So you detach from your body. You detach from your body and your connection with it. You don't have the same feeling that you had. It's like the emotional connection you have with yourself and knowing who you are for some reason is gone. It's like if you looked at a family member and you're like, they look like my mom, but they don't feel like my mom. The same thing can happen to you personally. And again, a lot of these are caused by traumatic events. And some of you might go, I don't think these are real. I think people are faking it. There are some times where people try to fake a psychological disorder, but psychologists will tell you that all of these are real disorders, and some people have those disorders and they're not faking them. The next category of disorders is called somatoform disorders. So these are different than dissociative disorders. They're similar because they can be caused by trauma, but their symptoms are much different. So again, with dissociative disorders, it has to do with your personality. These have to do with physical function and feelings of illness. So the first one is called conversion disorder. And the case study is about a young woman who loses some physical functioning, and she can't figure out why she's losing this physical functioning. There's no medical explanation for it. There's nothing wrong with her bones or her muscles. She doesn't have any kind of disease. And so psychologists believe and doctors believe that it is something going on up here that's blocking her ability. For example, there was a case study I remember in college of an airplane pilot who lost his ability to see. There was nothing wrong with his eyes. There was nothing wrong with his brain necessarily. Like there's nothing physically wrong with him. But psychologists thought that he lost his vision because he didn't want to fly a plane anymore because he had been in a plane crash. And he wasn't injured, but he didn't want to fly again. And so they think that his brain kind of shut down his ability to be able to see. But this video is a little bit different. So you'll take a look at a young woman who's got conversion disorder and why it's a very frustrating disorder to have. Illness anxiety disorder is also known as hypochondria, and it's where a person always thinks they're sick. Every time they hear about a new illness, they think they have this new illness. And so they are very stressed about always feeling like they're sick and they need to go see a doctor. And then this last one, why do I keep doing this? Sorry. Factitious disorder is one that you're going to be most skeptical about, I think. So a factitious disorder, a person says they are sick. They say they feel sick. They're not sick. And the reason that they feel sick and they say they're sick is because they get something from doing that. They're not aware of the connection of those two things. They're not aware that they are feeling sick because they get something positive out of it. Maybe attention, maybe money, maybe more stability in their relationship. So they're faking the illness, but I hate using that word faking it because they feel it. They don't intentionally fake it. They're doing it for the reward and that pleasure it gives them to feel sick. So it's very difficult to understand. You will be very skeptical when you see this case study because this woman, even her family doesn't believe her. But doctors do. Doctors believe that this is a real disorder, and she has this one. I'd say these are rare, maybe hypochondria, not so much. I think conversion, when it comes to like pain, physical pain people feel, I think that's more common than most people would want to believe, but like totally losing function and ability to do something is pretty rare. But I think our our society, our cultures struggle with chronic pain might have to be something having to do with conversion disorder. Thanks for watching.